Hi, I'm Susie Terrell with the La Center Historical Museum. Today is September 12th, 2023. I'm going to be chatting with two beloved teachers from La Center High School. They are Sharon, Bryan, and Dawn Landis McCullough. I somehow coerced them to coming in and letting me pick their brains and ask them a bunch of questions. I think we're going to have a little fun today because they're not only characters by themselves, but together they're best friends, and they've been through many adventures together, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to take a back seat and let them do the talking and see where we go. Okay, I would like to introduce Sharon, Bryan, and Dawn Landis McCullough. And I'm not sure which one to start with. Who came to La Center first? Okay,
a few years before Dawn. Not many though.
Okay, so was she like your mentor?
Well,
Or led you astray?
we actually became friends at a football game
Ah.
because we were supervising the football game, and we both started talking about life experiences and decided that we had a lot in common.
Uh-huh.
And we enjoyed each other's sense of humor and friendship, and we just started being friends at that time, even though I was actually teaching in the junior high.
Oh.
And she was teaching in the senior high.
Okay.
So,
Which were on the same campus.
yeah.
Oh,
Same.
right.
Where all the lower campus was just the campus.
Right, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Before the new high school. Yeah.
So then over 30 years, we just had experiences, family experiences, loss, and other experiences, babies being born and stuff
Uh-huh.
like that. So we just supported each other through all of that and ended up being very close.
That's nice. That's great.
Yeah, it is very nice.
So, Sharon, what brought you? I kind of read a little bit of a bio on that. I'd like to hear you talk about how you
How I ended up
came.
here?
Yeah.
Well, I was a brand new teacher. I was 22 years old, young. I didn't know anything. I'm sure I didn't interview well. And La Center was my 21st interview for a job.
Oh, wow.
And they offered me the job, and so I took it because nobody else did. And I arrived here and was sort of aghast at what I found, and my classroom was a mess, and there was one book for each class to use, and there's just a dearth of curriculum.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, I'll stay a couple of years because you don't want to leave too soon. And 40 years later, I retired because it grew on me.
You don't want to rush into things.
No, I didn't want to be hasty.
Ah.
Yeah, I ended up here because they offered me a job.
Yeah. So did it take you a while to like fall in love with
Yes,
this
it
little
did.
town?
I did. I actually,
Especially because you were kind of looking for bigger.
I was, but that was just foolishness on my part because I
Uh-huh.
graduated from a big high school and I thought that's all there was. And
Yeah.
I had no idea that a school of 200 was so much better than
Yeah.
a school of 1,500 kids. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it took a couple of years.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that. And how about you, Don? How did you end up here?
I was looking for a job because we had, our family had moved from North Dakota
Oh.
to here, and I had to have something to do because I had 3 children.
Uh-huh.
And so I applied at La Center and got offered the job, the same as Sharon, and it was 3 years after you.
Yeah, about 3 years ago.
Anyway, so I came here, and I really just grew to love La Center. Just the students in particular were just great. They did not tear apart the school like other schools. And I just enjoyed being here, and I was allowed to be creative, so that was really special for me to have freedom to create things that were fun, interesting, artistic, and that drew me here, of course, for all those years. And then I also started teaching drama, and I loved doing theater and presenting plays.
Uh-huh.
So that was very, very important to me too, that I got to do that.
Well, speaking of being creative, which came first, the rainy day magazines or the book with the pictures?
The magazines came first. Well, actually, that very first one I just gave you today,
Uh-huh.
the one that's called Brigadoon, that came first because that was 1983, I think.
Okay.
And I didn't start on the book until probably the mid 90s, which is about when the Rainy Days went into production too. So those
Okay.
were happening at the same time.
And how in the heck did you get that pass that you could do that? Taking kids off campus, interviewing, driving
idea.
through. Did they drive on their
They
own?
drove on their own. They had, everybody had permission from their parents.
Sure.
But they drove off campus, and even though they had permission from their parents, had something happened, it would have been the school's
Sure.
liability.
Yeah.
So I'm amazed it lasted 6 years, I think, when we were in production. And I don't know how we pulled it off. There were so many kids interested. That was nice because I had 2 classes of about 30 kids in each one. So, and there were a lot of kids coming and going, and it always made me uncomfortable. But
Did you edit their stories?
I was always involved in the editing, but they did most
Okay,
of it.
because I mean I've read through so many,
Yeah,
and they're good.
they are pretty good. Some of them were, but
Yeah.
most of them I'm very proud of. That yeah, they wrote them.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
we edited together, and
I actually showed him to Peter, the superintendent, and asked him, is this even possible? And he said no. And I said, okay, so what if you brought people in to the school that the kids would interview, the ones that wanted to share their stories, and that way they don't have to go off campus or anything. And he actually started liking that idea, and he had just gone through and gotten the whole curriculum for this year set, so he said we could look at it and start planning it for the following year if we can get something like that going. But I would love to do that.
absolutely,
It's
lots of interesting people
yeah,
around.
yeah. And so Rainy Days, how did you come up with that?
Oh, the kids came up with that. They had many ideas. It was probably raining that day, and it. I don't know. It just the kids chose the title. They generated
Okay.
a lot of different options, and then everybody voted, and that's what they chose. So.
Yeah.
And it made perfect sense to me.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great book, and I keep finding more and more articles that grab me. My first project with the museum was, and I don't know why I chose this, but I just wanted to list out and have pictures of all the mayors.
Oh, okay.
Heck, I thought I could go to City Hall and get that list,
Yep.
and they didn't have it. And so I had to do a lot of research, and I didn't know right there in the Rainy Days magazines, there's several of the past mayors,
Yep.
and great articles on
Good,
them.
good.
So, and I bring up Skip Carlson's fire walking more often than he likes me to when we were in a group of people. But there's so many fun stories in
Good.
there.
And the kids also generated the story ideas, and some of them are better than others. Some of them didn't want to focus so much on the history of La Center as, what's going on in the present, which ultimately was fine, but there were a few in there that I reluctantly agreed to. But they did okay.
Yeah.
They did okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's great ideas. And so back to being creative on your side, Don, I found a YouTube video of you doing all the art in the school. Is that still there? I don't get into the school, so do you know if it's still there? Have they changed things out like they did the class pictures? And
I'm not exactly sure what status it is right now.
Uh-huh.
I know that many of the things have been continued on after I left, and a few of them have been altered because of necessity. They needed to do something with the ceiling over the cafeteria. And there was a dragon there, a Chinese dragon, and so they took that down at that time. So I know a few things have been altered, but otherwise I don't know for sure what's still there, but I hope a lot of it, because we've got some really amazing things.
Yeah, I was
out there in
amazed.
high school.
Yeah.
We have things like a cuneiform tablet from ancient Persia, and we have an Egyptian mummy mask. We have some amazing things
Yeah.
that are just sort of quietly sitting on shelves or hanging somewhere. And you have to sort of stop and take note to realize what a value it is.
Yeah, and I hope that the kids are still thoroughly enjoying it with each generation. It's important to have that there, and I know that we can all get complacent with, seeing something too often, but I hope they stop and take a look and, give it some thought.
I think they do. I think, and they're very respectful of it too.
Oh, good.
There was very little damage. The poor carousel horse broke, but that's because somebody leapt upon it.
Yeah.
So you can't sit on the carousel horse anymore.
Yeah.
But it's still there.
Yeah.
And I think the majority of it is still in place.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Last I was there, a lot of it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And did you, sometimes I, get carried away with myself in telling the stories, that I could be wrong on this. Did you have students recreate things that they saw in art galleries and stuff? I mean, do their own version and then hang that also?
Not exactly, even though there's plenty of student art included in the hallways. Because I tried to make a spread of student art and professional art. So we have some very professional artists that have contributed to our school. Like glass artist David Schwartz. He's from Ridgefield, but his work is shown in the White House collection and the Smithsonian. So he donated some work to our school as well. And there have been other professional artists that have just contributed and have helped me make something, or have worked with us. So it's been very good, and we've had a lot of support. But I've always tried to keep student art, professional artists, male, female, a variety of ethnic backgrounds. There's always been thought into whatever goes up.
Yeah.
It's been quite a fun thing to get to pick and choose some amazing things.
Yeah, I was amazed. The video was very
great?
well done, and I was amazed at all the variety, number one, and the quality. I mean, it's so professional looking, and I did read about the glass blower, and I started thinking that I need a list of artists and authors that are, came from the center, who graduated. And I started a little bit of that on our webpage with who graduated and have businesses here now.
That really ballooned.
It really did, yeah.
Very impressive.
And I know several artists and authors. And so, I just keep building and building onto that. But we've got some great talent here.
Yes. I've always had students who were much better than me.
Oh, well, tell me about the steamboat town and how, you've got a lot of them out there. When I first tried to find you, because we had one booklet left, and I looked on Amazon, I was blown away at how many you did.
Oh yeah, I've done several different books, basically for kids mostly, or historical interest.
What got you started? To me, it's monumental task at how you designed these.
Well, I actually started with the photographs. I thought, I bet I could make these photographs into actual three-dimensional characters and buildings and so on. So the buildings that you see actually are from photographs that I have photographed from or that I have used, that show the face of the building, or the north face, and then also another picture that shows the west face. And so I tried to take them and cut out that part of the picture and then expand it to be the whole wall,
Uh-huh.
or repeat the window if I needed to. So I really tried to get accuracy, but not accuracy as far as like the measurements.
Oh, yeah.
So, I didn't necessarily say this is HO scale or anything like
Yeah.
that. Just did them in relativity to each other. So I just became interested after doing the ghost tour. I
Uh-huh.
did that when I was teaching junior high, and the ghost tour was done by drama students. And the ghosts were all actual people, representative of actual people
Uh-huh.
who had lived in the center, and that I had actual stories and photographs to verify. And that turned out to be fun, and I really enjoyed it. So I was still interested in the history when I stopped teaching, and wanted to do this for the center. So I put them together and made a little town of where the old bridge was.
Yeah.
And then the buildings that went up the hill there.
Which one did you do first? Was ours first? Or, because I know...
Yes, the
Mhm.
Steamboat Town was the first book that I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Cowboy Town I have done, that's from Wichita, Kansas, the
Uh-huh.
cow town that they have there. It's actually old buildings from Wichita.
Uh-huh.
And so that's the second one that I did. And I've done several the coloring books, just different historical
Right.
coloring books.
Do you still work on those?
Oh, I do every now and then. It depends if I get an inspiration or not. But so far, I've just done a whole bunch of them, and I couldn't even tell you how many.
Yeah.
And just offered them on Amazon because they print them.
Uh-huh.
And I would like to have better printing, but I don't have access to that without a lot of money. So
Right.
Amazon will print them without charging me. So
Ah, I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
great.
they charge whoever buys the book
Right.
one book at a time. So you could sell 10 or you can sell 3,000, and they will print them out
Uh-huh.
regardless of what number you need, and then charge the readers
Uh-huh.
so that you actually get, well, I wouldn't say I get much money, but a couple bucks every now and then,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So do you have people that, contact you and say, do my town, or...
no, I haven't had any of that yet, but I thought about doing some stuff for Clark County, the steam,
Yeah.
not the steam, the old mill,
Uh-huh.
just different things like that, historic buildings.
Right.
I've worked a lot on the academy downtown, the
Uh-huh.
old Catholic Academy, because that was an important historic place in Clark County.
Uh-huh.
Just different things like that. And so I've done a lot of work on it, but I have not formulated it into a book yet.
Okay.
So.
Okay. That's great. Well, Sharon, you had a pretty big project in all those photos. That,
Spent a lot of summers at the scanner, let me tell you.
yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, 'cause I had to put those giant, class photos on there and jimmy them around to.
Yeah.
That and it was by today's standards ancient technology. So
Sure.
It
Yeah.
took hours and hours and
Yeah.
hours to do one class. So,
I
but I enjoyed it. And it was,
I understand that. Yeah. And there's been lots of stories told about where all the frame pictures
Yeah,
went
yeah.
and who did what. And so I figure since I've got you here, I'd like to hear it straight from you.
Oh, okay. Well, when the high school, what is now, I guess, the elementary school, was remodeled for the first time in, I believe, 1983, 84, all of those pictures came down because the whole place was under construction.
Uh-huh.
And they went into storage, and then when the remodel was done, nobody wanted, for some reason, to put them back up in the hallway. Now, they're always, they lined the hallway, like you
Uh-huh.
see so many small schools have that. And I used to, I'd wander down the hall from my classroom down to the office or the bathroom or whatever, and I'd stop and I'd look at those photos every single day. I felt like I knew these people. And so when they came down for the remodel, I certainly didn't want them to disappear, but they ended up being rehung in the new library.
Oh, okay.
And they were there for a while, and then they came down from there, and that's when somehow they were in a storage room, and a custodian, and I have no idea who, threw them all into a dumpster.
Yeah.
And then a fellow named Ken Manning, I don't know if you remember Ken Manning, Gina's, and
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
he was the cheerleader advisor, and I don't know, for some reason, he was throwing something away one day and opened up that dumpster, and there were all these class photos and a lot of broken glass because
Yeah.
they've just been tossed in there, and so he fished them all out.
So he dumpster dived. See,
He
I've
He
been
did.
saying that you had.
No, I know. Sharon does not
Okay.
dumpster dive. I'd still be in the dumpster right now if I got in there. But no, he hauled them all out, and I don't remember exactly what happened between him hauling them out and me taking them home. It wasn't a big time period at all.
Uh-huh.
But they were clearly, nobody cared about them for
Yeah.
some reason. So I thought, well, I'm just taking them home. So I did, and I ended up taking them all out of the frames, and because I have a small house.
Uh-huh.
There's no way that was all going to fit. But once I took it out of the frames, I could manage them, and I tried to think of, what can I do with these? We have to do something with them. By then, I think we were in the new building, and my principal made it clear we were not going to rehang those pictures. He thought that was such an old-fashioned thing to do. And we don't
Right.
want to, gum up these beautiful walls, which are now all gummed up, but 30 years later. But at first I thought, when you go to stores like Fred Meyer's and they sell posters, they have those displays. They sell them in where, you can
Right,
flip through them. And I
that's
thought, maybe we could build something like that and put it out in the lobby. But they're all different sizes, as you know.
Uh-huh.
That's not going to work. And then technology came along.
Uh-huh.
We had a scanner, and we had computers, and they may have been ancient by today's standards, so I thought, I'm going to scan them all and make a book. So that's what I started, and it took years.
Yeah.
It did not happen quickly. And then once I scanned, I think the first time I printed the book, it was 2001, the first time. And my principal, Dave Holmes, very nicely, he loved the idea, and he said, well, I'll have the district pay for them, and then I would reimburse. I didn't get the money; it went into my classroom because it was a school thing. But he fronted the money, and then I repaid whatever the printing costs were, and then the rest went into my classroom fund, and then I updated it a few years later, and updated it again, not the whole book, because it was getting too big to put in one volume by then. And then finally, when I retired, I had already gotten backlogged a couple of years. I don't know, I didn't lose interest, but once you retire, you kind of
Yeah.
But then last summer I thought I gotta get it up to date, and so I managed to get all the photos from the school, and then I thought I can't print it again. It's prohibitively expensive, and you can't put it in one volume. So then I thought, let's just put it online. So it's all out there now, and I would imagine I'll probably get the last year's class updated, but then I have somebody to turn it over to who very much wants to take it over.
Really?
So Jennifer Cervity Miller
Oh.
is the one who redid all.
Right.
She's when I was typing online one time on Facebook, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do when I just I drop dead or I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And she said, Sharon, oh my God, how could I not think of Jennifer? So she's going to take it over at some point.
Yeah, that's great.
So it'll keep going for a while.
Yeah, I know that she worked with Beard's
Can't think of his name all of a sudden.
it's a framing place, Beard's Frame Shop.
She did. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
I was thinking of,
because some of those, dropped off into Neverland, the little photos, and he went to your book and photoshopped out of that and reproduced to put in the frames.
Beautiful.
And did a great job at sizing them down and all that. And we wish that we had more room to display them because they're such a hit. When we get the tours in of all the kids, they laugh and poke fun at all the hairstyles and how old they look, and they'll find grandma or grandpa or whoever.
Or great grandma.
Yeah. And then some of our other visitors that haven't been in town for a while, they'll come through and they'll be able to pick different family members or whoever, old sweethearts out, and that's always fun to hear the stories. So I was in the high school looking for your book, and I didn't know where it was, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, it's right there, right in the entryway, and it's like this deep, 2 foot deep or so.
It's very deep.
And it's great that they have that available.
That's that part I haven't gotten updated. It's all ready to go, but I have to have them printed and then laminated to
Yeah.
add to that collection.
But the web page, I
The webpage has
understand.
got everything.
I've made many a web page, and I know the work that goes into that. And I love that you put the senior roast at graduation
Oh, okay.
on
the speeches,
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're great.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed them.
Yeah, yeah. It was fun the very first one that I read had Dave Pettit in it. And his cousin lives down the street
Oh,
from me,
okay.
and I run into Dave all the time out there on the trail, and so that was really fun.
Dave and I hated each other.
Yeah.
Oh, we were just the worst possible relationship, and now I love the guy. So,
Sure,
yeah.
yeah. Well, we all kind of grow out of things.
Well,
so
we do.
grow up, and
We were both very young.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So.
that was fun. Did you ever get any, I don't know, any blowback from some of the remarks that?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I got
Oh.
outlawed one year. In fact, when I spoke at the class of, must have been 91, I think, I told a story that, about, Patty Renner.
Yeah.
You know Patty? She told me, and I got her permission to include it in my speech, probably not my best judgment, but she'd had a dream about John Johnson. A dream.
Okay.
And that's all I said in the speech. But
Uh-huh.
and I got called into the superintendent's office the
Oh.
next morning, and I was told, now, Sharon, I think it's time for a change. And so they barred me from speaking. And then the kids, the next group of seniors, went to bat for me, and I got reinstated.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, we can't have that.
Well,
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah,
So,
because I've heard so many people that, I mean, that was the highlight of the graduation ceremony. And you never knew what Sharon was going to bring up about you. And you either cringed or you laughed. And
it got to be kind of difficult. Because, when I first started giving the speech, I had all the kids in class. I knew them all. There was lots to talk about. And then as we grew and grew and grew,
yeah.
suddenly I only had a third of the kids in class, and I felt bad because, is it fair? I just talk about the kids I know. So I used to ask for stories from other teachers in the high school, and then I started to ask teachers in the middle school, and I even went to the elementary school at one point because, the classes had gotten so big.
Sure.
And for that last year, I just said, forget it. I'm talking about who I know. And so that's what I did the last year. I went back to my roots. And,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was getting too hard. It's not fun to tell a story that's not yours.
Well, yeah. Well, and what about, having to be very careful with what you say, and did that enter into it at the later years? Because I know that's been...
Actually, it less the later years, because at that point I thought, what are they going to do? Fire me? But I wasn't, I don't think I was, except for Patty's poor dream. No, my stories were clean, and the kids did so many funny, stupid things.
Yeah.
It was plenty to say about
a wealth
them.
to draw from.
Yes,
Yeah.
a wealth of information, absolutely.
Oh, that's fun.
So it ended on a high note. I thoroughly enjoyed that last speech I gave.
Good.
The kid was one of mine. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, Dawn, back to you for a minute. You alluded to the ghost stories, and that's something that we've been trying to resurrect here at the museum. There was one of our members who was very enthusiastic about it, but then life got in the way, and she hadn't been able to really delve into it. And I had started gathering some stories that I saw, because those are my favorite stories. I mean, all the weird, bizarre ones. And those are the fun ones that I like to tell people about when they come in. And so I started keeping them in a box. And so I had some to draw from. But then when I heard that you had actually gotten the drama department out there and portrayed some of these things, and I would so love to have a copy of that if we could ever find.
Yeah, that's the problem, is I did not keep it. I gave it to someone who I don't remember when I retired, because I thought it was too much of a resource to just let go. So I gave it to someone that was teaching history when I retired.
At the high school, or?
At the high school.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that they had any particular interest in it, other than I just wanted to pass it on to somebody who at least knew
Right.
about the history. But it was really fun. What happened was that a parent had a whole lot of La Center photographs that nobody else had seen, because her family was from La Center.
Oh.
So they had pictures of the last 100 years or so. And so she went through them with me and told me stories about specific people. And they were stories that happened in specific places here in town. And so we put them together as a real person, and she told me the story. And we would take a junior high class and have them walk around town. There was a walking tour. And you'd go to places like the old doctor's house, the old hospital, and stuff like that. And at that place where you're standing there, an actor would come out dressed like the character and would say, "I'm so-and-so from La Center history, and this is my story." So that was actually rather fascinating, because we had like eight different ghosts around the town, and then everybody just walked from the school, of course.
Yeah.
So it turned out to be really fun. It was a good way to get information out and to sort of bring alive old history.
Yeah. That wouldn't have been Barb Vining, would it?
No, it was Valerie Honeywell, but she is no longer a Honeywell.
Okay.
So I don't remember her new name.
Okay. Well, that what year did you do that? I mean, did you video it or anything?
Let's see, before I went to strictly the high school. Oh no, I didn't video it or anything like that. It was still back in the days when when those things didn't happen.
Yeah.
We didn't have the technology to do it. So it had to be in the 90s, but I don't remember which span of years, because I didn't do it all of my years. Just, when I was teaching U.S. history in the middle school, which I've taught just about everything at most levels. But
Probably in the early 90s, because you would have come to the high school in about
it would have
95.
been, okay, it
The
would have been
second
the
year we
early
were
90s.
open.
Yeah.
And these were mainly middle school people that were in the drama?
No, the drama was high school students that dressed up, but the elementary or the middle school was what I was teaching most of the day.
Okay.
And then I was teaching drama at the end of the day.
Okay.
And that was with high schoolers, so mixed the two together.
Did you ever get a sense as to why Little La Center is so haunted? Because I mean, there's a lot of stories, and a lot that are out in the hinterland, like way up Highland and up by Annie's berry farm.
No, I haven't heard all the ghost stories.
Oh yeah, some of them they're really horror stories, more than I always think of Casper the Friendly Ghost, but these are scarier.
Well, these were just characters from the past. They weren't real ghosts. I mean, they weren't from stories of ghosts.
Right.
We just had them tell their story, and then of course having them from the past, we called them ghosts.
Did you perchance do our midwife, Maddie Sheldon?
No.
Okay.
Did not know her.
Yeah, that's one other project. You know where her house was, right next to the bakery, on the side street as you're going out of town, the one with the big rock patio porch. Yeah, she helped 121 little lives come into the world. That was back right at the beginning of World War II, when all the men were gone and doctors were gone, and so people were relying on midwives. And she did 121, and not one of them has her name on the birth certificate.
Oh my goodness.
It's all the doctor who was in charge, of her. Yeah, I did a thing on Facebook where I was searching for all of Maddie's babies, and I think I found up to 20 of them so far, but it's drop in the bucket.
She was still, when I started here, she was still there. Will and Jeff.
Yeah.
took care of her in her later years.
Oh.
Because he lived right up past the bakery. That's where his house was.
Uh-huh.
And he used to always talk about going to visit Meddy. And
Yeah.
yeah, he graduated 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I did a lot of research on her, trying to find, something about the babies.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how old she was in this one. The only article that I found it's got a full-size picture of her standing in front of the gas pump that was there at her house. And the whole article was about the gas station and her husband running the business.
Yeah.
And she helped take care of it and all that, but there wasn't one word about her helping with all these babies.
That's
so
too bad.
yeah, yeah,
That's why we need the magazine.
yeah, definitely.
We
And
need to be talking to those people.
we the museum partnered with the Koff family for the Margaret Koff Hepla scholarship, and so kids have to come into the museum and find something to write about. And so I'm always taking the girls over to Maddie's corner and saying, you got to rectify this. You got to write about this woman and get her name out there. And this last year we had 3 stories about her.
Oh, okay. Good.
And some were just kind of honorable mentions, but others were more in depth. And
Had they found some sources?
no,
No. Okay.
they had what I told them,
Okay.
basically. But they put their own spin on things,
Okay.
and they're quite good, actually.
I'll
So
have to talk to Will again and see what he remembers.
yeah,
Because
definitely.
she was just down the street.
Yeah.
Just a few houses up. So
Yeah.
I never talked to him about it, except I remember him mentioning Meddy all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a thing to be overlooked, I think. So
Probably not surprising, no, for the time.
right,
Gas station
right.
versus a woman who delivered 121 babies.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I also just found that you had a hand in the totem pole restoration.
Yes, I did some of the repainting.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I should have kept my hands off of it just because it was another artist's work.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't realize when I started out that the artist was still available and around here. So I feel like I should have allowed the artist to do it, but it was an expense that the city didn't have at that time. So I was asked to do it, and I enjoyed doing it. It was a new experience for me, but
Yeah.
I actually did a lot of research into what it takes and what is done in a traditional way and what is done in a modern way and that sort of thing. So I think I did it according to the standards that were available at the time I did it. But that's not too long ago, what, 5 years or something like that.
Well, it was because of me finding that about you that I found the artist on Facebook and contacted him. And I told him that his son last year had applied for the Koff scholarship by writing about the totem pole. And I said, but our rules of the scholarship were they had to come into the museum and talk about something they learned. And I said, unfortunately, we have nothing in here about the totem pole. And so I said, can you help me correct that? And so he's now going to write up a little history for me.
Well, I owe him an apology. I didn't know where he was, but I think that he should have been the one to have redone the instead of me. And I didn't realize until after I'd already begun that was the way it was. But it's a beautiful sculpture, and I think the Lucinda's very lucky to have it.
Yeah.
And he's a great artist. Very good.
I'm not
Beautifully
sure
done.
where he is. I know he lived here for a while. I'm not sure if he's still here. I didn't want to bombard him with too many questions at the time, but I was so pleased that he answered. And yeah, he's quite an artist in and amongst,
very, very talented.
Yeah.
So it's amazing because I worked on it and got to see up close his carving skills, and it's beautifully done.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I would love to know what the city plans on doing with it.
they're planning on putting it in a group of 3 of them, I think, is what I heard.
Oh,
But
okay.
then I'm giving you hearsay
Uh-huh.
now. I think there's a little park somewhere here in the area that they're going to put 3 of them in.
Oh.
But I don't know where the other 2 are coming from, but
I'll
like they're
be
being
darned.
gathered from somewhere, I think.
Uh-huh.
But that's just enough information to make it incorrect.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, I was going to volunteer at the museum. You know, we could, sure put
Right
it
up
out.
front.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it belongs well, it belongs in our roundabout. Right?
Great place.
yeah,
Yeah.
roundabout would be great.
Yeah, but the city is changing, but I'd like to keep as much history as we can. And speaking of changing, you folks wrote a letter to the school, and
A
I
letter.
thought that was very good. It was so well presented, and I agreed wholeheartedly. And how was that? I mean, you actually sent it to the school. How
The
was that?
superintendent and the school board,
How was it received?
not well.
Oh.
It's probably why Pete said, no, we can't have a class like that.
Oh.
We're sort of on the fecal roster right now.
Oh,
Yeah, it was not well received.
oh, that's too bad.
Well, we had to
Say
what we felt.
yeah.
Yeah,
And how many of you were involved in that? 3 or 4?
7 of us.
Oh,
signed it.
7.
7 of us signed it.
Okay.
Been
Yeah.
a long time, recently retired,
Uh-huh.
or fairly recently retired. Don is the
Old one now.
old one now. Although he did come back and do a sub job my last year, so
Uh-huh.
which was wonderful.
Ah.
The favorite
It was
thing of my
fun.
last year was having Don there for the first 9 weeks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, things have changed so much, so drastically that it's hard for people of our age to really cope with some of the things sometimes. And I would like to say I see it getting better. And every now and then, there are those young people who come through the museum. A couple of them have volunteered and
Oh, good.
spent
Okay.
Saturdays here with me.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, Mackenzie Sharon, or I don't pronounce her last name right, but anyway, she I believe she's a junior this year, and she came when she was a sophomore, and she was very interested. She fell in love with the Rainy Day book.
Oh, good.
I mean, she really wanted to get that going again.
Ah.
And so she was very enthused and wanted to try and talk to her teachers about that. But that's been a couple of years ago, and since then she's gotten involved in many other things. So
Sure.
yeah, but that would be a lot of fun. So
Well, I hope she does it or somebody does it. That'd be nice.
yeah. And one last thing that I found, Don, was your tribute to this woman when she retired. The video. That was wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
That was so fun to watch. And I am stealing a picture off of it, and right as I think as Sharon is coming to town, and you're showing the town, one of the garages
Oh, yeah.
where the casino
Ada's
is.
garage.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
that shot, because I've never seen. I mean, I've got a couple of pictures, but different angles and some at different times, and I think that's one of the oldest ones that I've seen.
Okay.
And so I'm cropping that off here.
Well, that's just fine. I have no copy. of it.
Yeah.
And
But
most of the photos came from you, the ones of you personally.
yeah,
So,
that was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, was that a big surprise? Well, you had to give some of the pictures.
Yeah,
right?
it was, well, I knew it was coming. I watched it many times. It's very
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I love the Wicked Witch, and
Yeah.
the whole
Those are all
Oz
his
thing.
voice, too.
Yeah.
All him.
Yeah, I was amazed at how you got the animation of, I mean, sometimes it looked like they were actually saying the whole word, you
Yes.
know. So, yeah.
Fortunately, I had the right program.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So are you still involved in that kind of, I mean, doing productions for family or, you know,
Well, I just got a new computer up and going, and
Uh-huh.
so I've just started doing more things like that again.
uh-huh.
Because for a while I haven't been doing it because my computer was on.
Ah.
So anyway, that's my area of interest. So I'm always headed that direction.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah. It's fun. How about you, Sharon? Are you, I know that you talked about you have a very busy life, but it's
Oh, it's
things
not that
that
busy. It's very purposely not busy.
but I mean, it sounded like fun things,
Oh,
you know.
yeah. My newest hobby is I make calendars.
Oh,
I do.
I like that.
Well, I've started out making them for my book club.
uh-huh.
But last year's calendar was a tribute to Queen Elizabeth,
Uh-huh.
because she just died a year ago. So it's
Yeah.
I just make the calendar like I made the book, but
Uh-huh.
it's got all little tidbits of English history and Queen history on it on
Well, that's
most
cool.
of the days of the year. Yeah, it's fun and a lot of photographs. And,
That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter-in-law did one, you know, for a family of my grandsons, you know, for each month, and through Shutterfly, I think.
Oh,
it was.
okay.
yeah.
And
sure.
those are a lot of fun. But
Mine's completely from scratch. There is no template. So.
yeah. Oh wow.
This year's is the films of Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh,
one of
and
my
he
big
did
interests.
star in your movie.
Yeah, yes, he did.
He was
Yes.
part
Somebody
of that.
knows that he's my favorite filmmaker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. I
Yeah.
enjoy doing that. It's nice to have the time to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you guys like team up on special projects or just back each other up?
We did a lot of backing each other.
Yeah, we did a lot of backing each other because we both have done our own thing.
Yeah.
You know.
But we always have supported each other. I'm
Always,
sure we must
yeah.
have done something together. I don't remember what it was.
It seems like we've done everything together as far
Wow.
as I'm concerned.
That's
Yeah.
true. That is true. Nothing in particular comes to mind right
Uh-huh.
now. but
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, we teamed up to have a nice retirement gig for one of our fellow employees.
Uh-huh.
That's right. We did do
Who
that.
was mentioned in the letter.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we like to take care of our own.
Yeah. Well, that's nice. So was there like a roast involved there?
Yeah, a little
That's-
bit,
yeah.
Uh-huh,
Yeah, of
absolutely.
course.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Right.
I roast
Right.
Yeah,
him.
that's what we do
He
best.
roasts me.
Yeah.
We like doing that.
Yeah. That's really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, this town is pretty special. I came at the very tail end, just before Margaret died.
Oh, okay.
So that was 2014,
Okay.
just before Christmas, and we knew about the museum, and so our first outing in January was the first time they were open, and Candy Irish was here, and she threw a ball and chain around my ankle so fast and said, "You're retired? Okay, you've got to come join us."
Yeah.
And so that's how they hooked me. She's never taken that ankle bracelet off. But
They're pretty aggressive, and you show the least bit of interest, and boom, you were
yeah,
in.
yeah, it wasn't real hard,
Yeah,
you know. But it was a lot of fun. I don't know if you knew Tom Woldridge.
Yeah, I
He-
remember Tom.
Okay, he was the president here for quite a few years, and very involved in our little annex next door is his dream. That was actually the garage from the Mayor's Corner house.
Oh,
They
okay.
moved it up here
Oh, okay.
and put it on solid foundation, and then turned it into, half of it is Grandma's tools, the other half is it's Grandma's kitchen and Grandpa's
okay.
tools.
Oh, that's fun.
And just about everything in there is from Tom.
Okay.
He was a great collector.
Okay.
And so,
Wow.
yeah, this was, I think he and Margaret were on the same wavelength as far as,
She was very supportive of both of us.
yeah.
Totally.
In everything that we did.
Yeah.
She was a contributor.
Uh-huh,
Mhm.
uh-huh.
Yes.
yeah, great family,
Yeah, definitely.
terrific. So yeah, the stadium that
Yeah, the
the high
stadium.
school the football stadium.
Which someday will be finished, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's been
So
under
they say.
construction for a long time.
Yeah, I think they were working on the concession stand.
And I heard
that-
something about restrooms, which
Oh wow, yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's a very charming town. There's bits and pieces that aren't so charming that we'd love to get cleaned up, but it a lot of history.
yeah,
Here.
a lot of history. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we
good.
the museum tries hard to stick to all about La Center
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, and I was amazed at how jam-packed this house is, just full of stories. And
Yeah.
I mean, we used to be a bustling little port, and it was quite busy down there.
Oh yeah. Hence the name, the center.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you have a copy of the book written by Tracy Riley Kelly that was printed like in the 70s, and it's all about local history?
No.
She was actually living here at that
Yeah.
time, and it's really hard to find a copy because it was kind of like Xerox.
Uh-huh.
I have seen one copy. I did not have a copy.
I had a copy at one point. 'Cause
Is it
Xeroxed
a full book or a booklet?
No, it's pretty thick.
Okay.
And she
But-
wrote about many different aspects of La Center history.
Yeah, and she interviewed a lot of the elders at that time in the 70s, and so her name though is Tracy Riley Kelly,
Okay.
and she's in Vancouver. She's in Hazeldale.
I think
Okay.
her book is in
The library?
the Clark County Museum.
Oh, sure.
I think they have a copy there.
They should. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would give you some real
Yeah.
good information about the
Yeah.
early days.
Yeah.
Because she caught some of the elderly people
Uh-huh.
at that time that had still been around at that time.
Well, I know between WSU and Brad at the Clark County Museum, they have teamed up to kind of gather photos and interviews in one central place for the whole county. And so they have all my interviews on their site.
Okay, good.
And what I do is I have to, the museum has a YouTube station,
Oh,
and
okay.
so I put them there so that then I can share from there. And they've been real interesting, and this is my first double trouble one now. Yeah,
We make
It's
a
really
good pair.
triple trouble, but you don't know
yeah,
Rick, so.
yeah. And he's trying to ignore us back
He
here in the
is,
corner.
he is. But I'm watching his face every night.
Yeah,
He's taking
yeah.
it. He's been involved in many of our adventures. so.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, so tell me about those adventures.
Oh.
You just went down to Ashland is the Shakespearean?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
That's what we've been doing that for.
We have yet to be able to do that.
Oh,
so,
well,
yeah, I've heard it's absolutely
It's-
wonderful.
very fun.
Did you
Yeah.
start that before I retired?
Yeah, we did.
I thought so, but
Yeah,
that's been
we did.
10 or 11 years.
Yeah, something like that.
And then we had the COVID era for a couple
Yeah.
years we couldn't go. But otherwise, we've been doing it for quite a few years.
Uh-huh.
Every summer, going down to Ashland to see the latest productions.
Yeah.
Which are
First
always
year we've
fun.
gotten rained on.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Not
Yeah.
bad. but-
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We were out in the rain for the performance. Yeah.
Because it has to get pretty bad before they'll cancel a
Uh-huh.
performance in the outdoor theater. So
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah, I love that area down there.
Oh,
It's just
it's
gorgeous,
beautiful.
especially this time of year.
and there's good food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, do you guys have any tales that you want to tell on each other, or any other things that you'd like
Not
to
that I'm
bring
gonna
up?
put on tape.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's like I have one favorite ex-mayor that I've been after forever,
Yeah.
and he just says, "Suze, no, those years are a blur, and I don't want them out there on film." So, but yeah,
Well, we've been fairly well behaved throughout our time.
no, really,
Almost.
Uh,
Yeah.
Depending on your point of view.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you're not an administrator.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, how many principals did you guys go through in your time?
Oh, I don't know, 7 or 8 maybe?
When I first came, it was Kubiacha,
Okay.
and then Warren. See after Kubiacha?
Could have been.
Then there was Bill Penrose,
Dave,
Dave,
Carol.
yes, Carol. So
And I had a couple before that, so I probably had 7 or 8 principals. And not as many superintendents, but
Uh-huh.
close to that.
Yeah, wow.
It's in the book. I can look.
Okay, yeah. Have you guys been to the new middle school? Have you gotten a tour there?
I've been in there once.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I went to, they have a Christmas bazaar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where it was
Oh,
held.
they're having it there now. Okay.
Yeah, and I was amazed at how many rooms there were to go through,
Mhm.
and that's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much needed.
Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised they had well, actually, I heard they had the Christmas bazaar there, but there's far more parking at the high school than there is at the middle school, and so that people were complaining because they
yeah.
were having to park miles
Way
away.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know why they did that.
And
other
on
than it's
that-
brand new and
yeah. And
So-
I wonder if they'll keep it there
After the
because of the
parking
parking.
concerns,
Yeah, because that road is not a
No.
easy road to walk on.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Or to park on. So.
yeah. But
Well,
yeah,
you like to show it off. And when the high school was new too, they
yeah,
used to haul all sorts of tours through there and open our doors and say,
Uh-huh.
come in and see.
yeah.
We just teach kids.
Well, yeah, and then of course there's all kinds of new neighborhood going in
Oh,
right
yeah.
next
Yeah,
to
right next to the middle school.
right
here.
next to and across
Yeah.
from, and it's going to be nothing but traffic. But that's the one thing I wish they would really address and
Yeah.
somehow fix.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I first came here, and for many years after, they had that building moratorium. You had to buy 5 acres.
Yeah.
And there were no, Stone Creek was the newest thing, and that's pretty ancient.
Yeah.
But yeah, you drive way back in the country. And
Yeah.
it was just farmhouses here and there. And
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
my gosh,
it's crazy.
it is crazy. I don't know where they're all going to school.
Did you guys ever get involved with the city council or anything to do with the city goings on?
I never did.
I worked a lot with Liz Cerveny
Oh,
on
okay.
arts festivals that we did for several years.
Uh-huh.
And just a few projects like that.
Were you here for the big art walk that we had? Jane Poole put it on,
Oh.
and or was it very involved with it? Where a lot of different places in town hosted artists that were selling.
No, I haven't. I didn't know about that.
It's been probably 5 or 6
Oh,
or
okay.
7 years ago, and I would have loved to have had a drone. At that time, because people were coming and going and zipping here and there, and it was a rainy day. It was cold.
He did hosted arts festivals in the center.
Yeah.
You
Several-
did?
For
Absolutely.
several years.
Yeah, several years.
Wow. In like one spot or a bunch of different?
We actually had Dale Chihuly show his artwork with us.
Wow.
One year.
It was all over town. Yeah, there were all kinds of activities.
Oh, that's
Artwork and the
that's
ghost walks
great.
sometimes would go on.
Oh, that's right. It was-
During the
I
art
forgot about
festival.
uh-huh.
It's amazing.
We had some, every year we had a featured artist that was known somehow, and we had some great class artists because they're from the Pacific Northwest, where a lot of the glass work is. And so it allowed us to have access to some of them, and they came. Now, Chihuly himself did not show up, but he sent his work,
Okay.
which was beautiful and
Yeah.
really quite a privilege to have. And then all the other artists that we had, they showed up and were here and met people and things like that. So, and did a show of their work, of course.
Yeah.
So it was really quite an experience.
How many did you do? Why don't we do this anymore?
Because this man is a force of nature.
Yeah.
Well, it became expensive to do, And that was hard to raise money. I'm not very good at raising money. Well, I am if it's a grant or something. I'm good at getting grants and things, but I'm not good at selling cupcakes.
Yeah.
I can't make enough to pay for whatever it is I'm doing. generally. So I have to have grants and gifts.
Yeah.
So
Oh, what a shame that that hasn't gone on for a while, but we do have several new council members and a new mayor, and they're pretty gung-ho about getting things going again.
Okay.
So
well,
maybe we can call on your expertise to know how to do these things.
Well, Liz Cerveny and I made a good team for doing the arts festival. She was excellent to work with.
Is she an artist herself?
She's a supportive artist.
Okay.
I mean, a supporting artist. She doesn't particularly do art herself, I don't think.
Okay.
I have seen some work of hers, but she generally doesn't claim that.
Okay. Yeah, because she is on my mayor's wall. She
Yeah.
was a mayor
Yes.
for a while, and I find very little. She's kind of private, and there are some articles on her, but it's regarding a specific issue or whatever, and not anything that's in depth. So
She's wonderful.
yeah.
She'd be a person to interview. And, Yeah.
Yeah,
We love Liz.
she's amazing.
No. Well, if you guys have anything that you'd like to bring up, now is the time. My questions have all been answered.
I don't think I can remember anything.
Yes, no, you've gotten
We've
as
gotten
much
older.
memory as I've
Yeah.
got.
Yeah. But I have thoroughly enjoyed this, and I so glad that you guys kind of hung in there with me when I had to cancel before, and
We understand that.
yeah. So this is great. Like I say, you're my first Double Trouble team that I've done, and we interviewed Joan and Lincoln Wolverton, and they
Who
were.
we also love.
Yeah, I was the behind the scenes, and Candy Irish, she knows them well, so she actually did the interviewing, and that was fun. But
Joan has stories. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
she's got from her days as a reporter.
yes,
They're great.
yeah. So we've all got stories.
We
It's,
do.
we think our own aren't all that exciting, but they are to other people, and you two have just fascinated me, and so I am so glad that you were willing to do this.
Yeah, it's
So,
been very fun. I
yeah.
enjoyed it.
Well, I thank you very much for coming, and I'm going to go ahead and turn you off now so that you
All
can
right.
relax and say whatever you want.